There's people at TV Radio.
You ain't nothing. All you do is spin record. That's all you do.
Spoken word, performance poetry, are the humble, modest parents of rhyme culture scattered all over the experiment we all know as society. Spoken word, performance poetry dominate popular culture in its most recent form called rap, which is packaged, promoted, and distributed in the locomotive bulldozer we know as the hip-hop industry. As I understand it, there is no movement without starting point. As I understand it, there is no direction without destination. As I understand it, the soil of anti-justice is the base from which all things we know as is manifests. Toxic soil, toxic seeds, toxic libation, toxic creatures of the toxic global order. Now that's either true or it's not true.
If anything needs a parental advisory, it's this music from the early 90s. And that's pretty much all we can play of Two Live Crew. Their music was so offensive, so sexually explicit, that it eventually became the subject of an obscenity case that made its way through some of the highest courts in this country. The man at the center of it all was Luther Campbell, a.k.a. Luke Skywalker. That was his stage name and the alter ego that helped make Two Live Crew one of the most legendary and notorious rap groups. Campbell has written a new memoir about his life and that time in the music industry. He begins his story, though, in Miami, in a neighborhood called Liberty City. That's where this man, who is famous for lyrics I cannot read without cringing, grew up listening to some surprising music.
You know, all I heard was Burt Bacharach over the weekend. You know, early in the morning, you got Burt Bacharach playing, you know, and then late in the afternoon when my mama and her friends get some drinks in them, then you heard Millie Jackson.
Can you walk me through, I'm curious because you write in the book about how much you did love to put on a good party, and you were the DJ in this really vibrant music scene in Miami at the time, and you and your friends were really successful at turning this into a business. But can you walk me through what that felt like when you're in a moment, you're in a crowd, and you can feel the vibe, and you know exactly the song you're going to play to take it to the next level?
Man, it was, and it's always to this day, an amazing moment when you're able to just turn people on. You know, and me being the star of the show, I would DJ last. So everybody would have played every hot song at least 2 times. So when I came on, I had to be a little more creative. So I would go and get an old song like Herbie Hancock, Rocket. You know, I had to basically separate myself from the average DJ.
What made you really successful in that world was your ability to break artists, to anticipate people's tastes, and to find people who hadn't really popped yet. When you look back at that, that's kind of risky. Did you ever have room for self-doubt, or you just had to say, nope, I'm going with my gut, this person's going to be a star?
When I looked into the Crater Records, I did not want to be the guy that just played the music that was on the radio. Forget about these records with the name labels on here. I'm going to look for the records with generic labels, not the nationally branded artists. And I said, look, I'm going to just think about the actual song and the songs that I'm going to stand behind. And so, I mean, people will looking at me crazy when I discovered Pitbull. They was like, Pitbull? Who is this guy? We already
big
got.
now.
Thank you. A Cuban rapper. They was like, "Are you serious?"
Been all around the world, but I ain't gonna lie, there's nothing like Miami's heat. You got it.
Campbell's DJ business grew. He discovered this group called 2 Live Crew, and he brought them to South Florida. He went from being their promoter to joining the group as a performer. At the time, rap groups like Run DMC and NWA were breaking into the mainstream, and 2 Live Crew was looking to stand out.
I sat there and if we're gonna compete with these guys, we don't have the same budget that they have. So what we're gonna have to do is do something different. What my mom and them used to listen to, this would set us apart from everybody else. Let's do comedy. Let's sample some of these comedians, some of these famous comedians like Red Fox and Leroy Skinner and Aunt Esther, and we'll keep this bass music, this up-tempo, this Miami-style music. We're going to do dance, and that set us apart from everybody else.
That might not be the first thing that people identify with 2 Live Crew, comedy.
No. When people heard the music, it was shocking. At first. And
that
then
might be a word that people would associate sooner than comedy. Shocking, yeah.
Exactly. They were shocked.
So
I can understand that now.
So in the beginning, did you not anticipate that the music and the explicit nature of it, because it was really explicit, did you not anticipate that it would stir up such ire, such anger in parts of the country?
No, I did not at all. I did not at all. I mean, even with the videos, I'm a product of my environment. My environment is Miami, Florida. This is where I live. We go on the beach on Sundays, and everybody running around here half naked. So my videos are going to look like Miami. I'm not going to look like I'm in New York, So when I did get a call from a PTA group out of Alabama and said, our kids are getting this, I had no problem creating that parental advisory sticker and put it on the record and start doing 2 versions of the songs.
I remember being in music stores and seeing those CDs with those parental sticker labels. And
so you got a couple of... You got,
no, I couldn't buy them. But,
you can tell.
When you're little and you see the sticker, then you want to buy it, right? Because you're thinking, that must, that's like off limits.
I had to do creative things. Again, it's this little guy. I'm doing this on my own. I'm like, okay, when Michael Jackson record comes out in the record store, I had to have some girls with some big old butts because I knew I wasn't going to get the same visibility in that record store as Michael Jackson.
So you knew the sex would sell. You knew that.
Of course. I looked at the things that Larry Flint was doing, what Hugh Hefner was doing. These things were already a part of society at the time.
The calls for you to tone down your music and to even calls for record stores to get rid of your albums altogether, those started getting louder and lawsuits were filed. You kind of doubled down. Instead of caving, you made As Nasty as We Want to Be, which ultimately landed you in court under obscenity charges. As
things went on, just like you said, I did double down. I was basically saying, hey, look, I'm going to just fight the system. At that time, I feel like it was racially motivated. I'm a black man. Everybody else is doing this. I own my own black record company. They're only coming after me because of this right here. So why should I not fight this? I got to take on this fight.
You won this significant free speech ruling that ended up affecting the rest of the music industry. But did you feel like you had the support of the industry when that ruling came down? And did you feel that you had been vindicated?
Let me tell you, I felt like the only person who was with me, it was me and the people of my community, the people of Liberty City. That was it. And that's why I always came back home, even when I became more and more successful, because, you had rap groups in the height of it all going on TV. From Salt and Pepper to Kid and Play, talking bad about, what we were doing on records. And, you had the Russell Simmons of the world, all these same people who you'd have thought that would have supported us coming after the music.
After the trial, You write in the book that you took your onstage persona to this completely different level because you started getting really into sex films and as a producer, and there was a really strong sexual element to your live shows. When did you decide, because you did decide to shed that persona, how did you make that decision?
I had to basically take a look at myself. I said, okay, as I won every battle, I won the parody case, I went to jail for music. At one point I just said, look, I got to grow up. I want to focus more about being an executive, and then at some point in my life being a father, and then I could get on with the rest of my life.
Your life is really different now. You write in the book, you went home to Liberty City, you set up an organization to help kids and mentor them through football. Pretty different life than you were leading as a music star and producer. You've got kids. How much do they know about your past, your music? Do they listen to your albums? Do you let them?
I mean, I got kids now, 24 and 25 years old, and
they know.
Yeah, they know. Were they fans? No. To say any one of my kids, oh, Dad, I like this song here, man. You really did it on I Wanna Rock. That Raise the Roof. Oh, man. No. So none of my kids want to be involved in none of the music.
We're too live, too black, too strong, doing the right thing and not the wrong. So listen up, y'all, to what we say. We won't be banned in the USA.
Luther Campbell, formerly of Two Live Crew. He spoke to us from the member station of WLRN in Miami. His memoir is called The Book of Luke, My Fight for Truth, Justice, and Liberty City. It's been so fun to talk with you. Thanks so much for taking the time, Luther.
Hey, it's great to talk to you as well, and you have a great rest of the summer.
You ain't nothing. All you do is spin records. That's all you do. Who you think he is? DJ Quick? Huh? Kid Capri?
I didn't say
huh? Oh, you must be Jimmy Walker. Blue, you ain't nothing. You don't deserve nothing. You don't get nothing. You get what I give you. I got a contract between me and you that say you do what I tell you to do. Therefore, shut up. Don't say nothing. Don't speak to me. Don't look at me. I tell you what. You better go on back out there and get out of my face before you get swole.
Hey, look, Dal, I ain't
They for horses. They for horses.
Come here and muscle you and nothing like that. I ain't trying to do that. I
Let me
just
tell you
want
something.
money. I just said.
Blue, if I raise up, gonna be trouble. Trouble. I'm walking off.
Radio shouting.
You had to do this book first because, here I'm at the forefront of this.
Yeah.
And it's important for people to know the history
Yeah.
of, what what I laid my body on the line. People ain't want no Southern hip hop. Everybody is all, kumbaya and dancing, the Russell Simmons and all them, all that was fine. They hated us.
Yeah.
With a passion. We were getting kicked. We would do shows at LB Rakim and actually give us 3 minutes to do a show. So when you read this book, you'll read about me having a big fight with Run DMC.
Yeah.
And that's when I made this song, We Want Some P.
Yeah.
That was basically because they were acting like peas. And I made the song, I made that song in Gulfport, Mississippi.
Yeah.
And we was on stage in the middle of a concert, sold out at the arena, and we get ready to go to blows. Because those are the things that happen to us, because we weren't considered hip hop.
Yeah.
And it was like everybody was rebelling against us, and I talk about that in the book.
What was going through your mind? You already having to deal with the discrimination in your own hometown. Then you get into hip hop, you got to deal with it from your own people.
Exactly, discrimination in hip hop.
Exactly.
They didn't. Let me tell you, guys in New York was not having it. If you weren't from New York, you weren't where it's at.
Yeah.
I remember, and I talk about this in the book. I mean, Redman.
Yeah.
Redman, if you listen to one of his songs back in the days, it was like, he used to make fun of us. Like, hey, yeah, them country dudes, what's up, dog? What's up, dog? What's up, dog? This was one of his interludes.
Yeah.
On his record. And so we had to fight. I had to fight Public Enemy manager in Savannah, Georgia. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't from New York. Y'all ain't hip hop. Y'all ain't this. You know what I'm saying? So people need to hear that story. That's why I tell people, ain't no disrespect to nobody else doing no books and all that. But you need this. You need to hear this. You need to read this first. And every Southern hip hop artist, I don't care what you need this in your life. You know what I'm saying? Because it just tells the story of the roads and the things that and the sacrifices that I had to make and others and people in my company had to make.
So with that being said, with that discrimination coming on in your hip hop experience, is that what led you to be an entrepreneur yourself?
Oh, no doubt about it. Because hey, look here, man, you're a rapper from Miami. You ain't about to go to New York and get no record deal, even though I'm selling 500,000 records. Because the A&R guy didn't understand what we was doing. Yeah. So with the A&R guy not understanding what you doing and how you doing it, he can't come properly A&R your project. And then the marketing people are like, how we gonna market this? This is trash. Yeah. So I was basically forced to have my own record company. So I then said, okay, fine. You know, I talk about it in the book. You know, hey, look, I had to then go manufacture my own product. I had to go into the pressing plant and stick the vinyl myself in the pressing machine because there wasn't so many pressing plants in Miami. I had to then put the records in the trunk of my car, you know, and then store them at my mom's house, store them at, you know, then I bring the 2 Live crew there and they moved down to Miami. And we was storing them in the apartment that we got for them, you know. People need to hear this story. I mean, it's a deep story. It's not just about, you know, it's some wild stuff in there, but it ain't about that.
It's deeper than rap.
It's deeper than rap.
I mean, with you having 2 of the members from 2 Live Crew being from New York, how was that for them making that transition into that Southern hip hop game, being where they were from?
Well, it was crazy. I mean, because, you know, the one guy who was in the group, Yuri V-Lot, you know, he was much more of a conscious rapper. He didn't want to do the adult stuff. Mr. Mix from California, you know what I'm saying? Me and him vibe, you know, we vibe real good. Mix, you know, me and Mix get together, we cook that thing up. You know, I'll come up with an idea, Mix come with the track, and then the dudes just come in, we tell them this is what you need to rap about. You feel me? And that's basically how we cooked it up. And so with them 2 guys, and you know, Marquise coming from upstate New York, you know, he got in the group after Yuri got out of the group. And then Chris was in the group. I mean, he was on whatever, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you know, we made some great music, and Mix never really got the prestige that he should have always gotten as a producer.
That's right.
Say, man, they came.
Ooh, what? They leave somebody out there?
No, man, I told them you went to the airport and they left.
Good. That's a good thing. Good. You was quick. You was good on your feet that time, man. But listen, go back out there and leave that side door open. Make sure, in case I gotta do something real quick. Now, go on. You did good. Go on.
And you gonna ever pay him?
Who did I tell you what I'm gonna pay? Keep your eyes open in case something transpires. I'm $1 bill. Shut down. Pay no country for nothing. Pay no country for nothing.
Right, inbound to immediate shelter. This is not a drill.
Esto es una emergencia.
Notification message. This station has interrupted its regular program at the request of emergency.
You know, what we're doing in the South would never manifest to anything.
We got our own shit down here. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't real hip hop from the beginning of time.
The South got something to say, that's all I got to say.
You are now listening to P.A.R. That's People Activity Radio. And I'm your host, John G.Horse. Welcome. You have found your family in a peaceful place. P.A.R. is a family-friendly information distribution program seeking to inform non-white people, in particular, black classifieds, and assisting in counter-racist codification. Today, JohnGHorse presents Southern Rap Chronicles. And the title of today's episode is Miami, Florida, 1985, Luke Records, Blue Comedy, strip club, rap fusion, the Luther Campbell effect. One more time, the title of the day's episode is Miami, Florida, 1985, Luke Records, Blue Comedy, strip club, rap fusion, the Luther Campbell effect. Let's get it in.
You are now listening to P.A.R. That's People Activity Radio, hosted by JohnGHorse, a blue-collar commentary radio podcast attempting to remove confusion in everyday social events. If you are subject to non-white classification, in particular black classified, welcome. You have found your family in a peaceful place.
You have indeed found your family in a peaceful place. Where do we begin? Where do we begin is always the question. And we are going to start the show off with a data portion, a blackpast.org article about Luther Campbell, also known as Uncle Luke, also known as Luke Skywalker, native of Miami, Florida, Liberty City, if you will. After the data portion, the article, we will then proceed with some geriatric bars by yours truly, Old John G. After the geriatric bars portion of the show, the music break, we will then end with Old John G's commentary on the subject at hand. So, without further ado, let's get into the data and let's get it in. Luther Roderick Campbell, also known as Uncle Luke or Luke Skywalker, is an African-American rapper, promoter, actor, and record executive. Campbell was born on December 22nd, 1960 in Miami, Florida. His father has Jamaican ancestry and worked as a custodian, and his mother had Bahamian ancestry and was a beautician. Campbell often skipped school in his youth to shoot dice in the hallways and used his earnings to bribe his teachers for good grades. He finally learned to read and write in the 11th grade after being bused to Simon Kenton High, a predominantly white Miami Beach school. Campbell started to DJ there and worked with a group called Ghetto Style DJs before graduating from school. He later worked as a cook for a hotel in Mount Sinai Hospital while spinning records at night in clubs. He took a course at a local record station to learn basic audio editing and production techniques and also become a promoter of rap events. In 1984, Campbell founded a California-based group called Two Live Crew with Trinidad-born rapper Chris Wong Wan and California scratch DJ David Hobbs. 1 year later, Campbell adopted the name Luke Skywalker and formed Skywalker Records. The name was later changed to Luke Records after George Lucas, the creator of the Star Wars movie series, sued Campbell for unauthorized use of the name Skywalker. Two Live Crew's music sent them to the top of the charts. Their second album, Move Something, in 1988 went gold. The third, As Nasty as They Wanna Be, 1989, went double platinum. The United States District Court for the Southern District of Florida ruled that the album was legally obscene, but the ruling was overturned later by the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. The Parents Resource Music Center had previously logged a formal complaint with the Recording Industry Association of America, RIAA, suggesting a warning label be placed on audio recordings that included vulgar and obscene language. The third album to bear the new standard black and white parental advisory label was the Band in the USA 1990 album by Two Live Crew. The group went on to produce hits up to their last release in 2006. Campbell had roles in the movies Ride and Players Club and also appeared as DJ Luke in the video game Grand Theft Auto, Vice City Stories. He hosted a sports talk radio show in Miami, dabbled in the adult film industry, purchased an oil company, and hosted a VH1 reality TV show. Campbell ran for mayor of Miami-Dade County in 2011 and came in 4th place out of 11 candidates. End of article. And again, You can find this article on blackpast.org. Blackpast.org, Luther Campbell. Yes, indeed. And without further ado, we're going to take a music break as old John G breaks out some geriatric bars. And you know how we do. Cue that clip.
JohnGHorse's Cash App is $JohnGHorse and capital G, capital HORSE.
Election notification message. This station has interrupted its regular program at the request of the emergency.
You know, what we're doing in the South would never manifest to anything.
We got our own shit down here. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't real hip-hop from the beginning of time.
The South got something to say, that's all I got to say.
The day of the Geechee is gone, boy. And you going with it.
Down here, Ponce de Leon is Ponce Leon. On site, took him off the planet. The ancestors won. Aboriginal, autochthonous, indigenous ones. Abracadabra, black classified, now you African, son. We descend from the renegades who mastered their guns, weaponized the sun, swamp dwellers, conjure hoodoo you done. Black riders don't run, they pay the price for liberation. The code is the leadership, it's best you get one.
The day of the Geechee is gone, boy. And you going with it.
We are chill, 9 to 5, John Henryismizing, socializing, fraternizing with children of the beast surviving. Realizing we provide the fire to keep the others rising. Incentivizing anti-culture, then we act surprised when jitterbugs charge the elders with the crime of not providing sanctuary, cause it's scary when you classify this black. Get back, we descend from the ones who fight it. Survival is the code. Once you get it, then apply it.
The day of the Geechee is gone, boy. And you going with it.
JohnGHorse's Cash App is $JohnGHorse and capital G, capital HORSE.
Election notification message. This station has interrupted its regular program at the request of emergency.
You know, what we're doing in the South would never manifest to anything.
We got our own shit down here. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't real hip-hop from the beginning of time.
system shall transmit its emergency action notification message.
The South got something to say, that's all I got to say.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And that was old John G. dusting off the old pen, paper, and microphone to give you some of them geriatric bars. Straight no chaser, that is. And that was a rendition for the person at hand that we are discussing, Luther Campbell, Uncle Luke, Luke Skywalker, what is it ever you want to call him. But you bet not recognize that he was a pioneer for independent music as it pertains to exclusive production of rap music. And as you heard old Luke say, he attempted to embed himself in the already established hip-hop industry, and he was met with nothing but disdain and non-cooperation. And from his testimony, those people who were inside of the hip-hop industry and or natives of hip-hop culture let him know every chance they got that what he was doing down there in country bumpkin Miami in the 1980s, whatever it was not hip-hop. His words, not mine. I would highly recommend, sorry about that, getting tongue twisted again. I would highly recommend Luther Campbell's book titled The Book of Luke. And he chronicles his experience as an independent record executive, classified as black. He chronicles his experience of mistreatment and or straight up and down blackballing from hip-hop labels, executives, and owners. Now, it's either true or it's not true, but that goes into old John G's moniker. That goes into old John G's slogan. Everything that involves spoken word or performance poetry does not fall under the culture, does not fall under the umbrella of hip-hop. It's impossible. Hip-hop was birthed, manifested in the 5 boroughs of New York City. And that is where its natives come from. Now, that's either true or it's not true. Now, if you wasn't from there, whatever you was doing while trying to package spoken word, performance poetry, you understand me. You can call it what you want to call it, but you bet not try to stamp hip-hop on it. And that was the attitude in the 80s and 90s as it pertained to any other rap artists or groups or record labels that were attempting to jump onto the wave of success that hip-hop culture got popping in New York City. Well, it's only natural when all of the record labels was based in New York City, and some ambitious lower level record labels started to invest pennies on the dollar in this thing that they were doing in the non-white, in particular black classified community in New York City, and they titled it, for whatever reason, hip hop. Let's move on. Now, whatever Luther Campbell was doing, which we are establishing wasn't hip hop, that started around 1984, inspired by the hip hop industry, he decided that since the New York record labels were not going to give any acts and or talent a chance if they were not from the 5 boroughs of New York City, he decided to make his own record label because there was plenty of talent all over the nation that he was booking because he was a promoter of parties and a DJ. He decided, hey, it's all this independent talent all around the nation. If I form me a record label, I know how to book acts and book gigs because I've been doing this and I'm a DJ. I'll just start a record label. Now, he ain't know nothing about no record label, and if you read his book, The Book of Luke, you will find out all the twists and turns that the fellow victim subject to black classification, Luther Campbell, a.k.a. Uncle Luke, a.k.a. Luke Skywalker, a.k.a. I can't say the other one, but if y'all from down here, y'all know who I'm talking about, Captain D. Let's move on. He said, I'll just form me a record label. And he signed some acts, and his first act was a California-based act out of the Inland Empire of Riverside County, California, from March Air Force Base, and they were known as the 2 Live Crew. Now, it was kind of confusing because there was more than 2 members in it, but the name just happened to fit. And the 2 Live Crew were Air Force veterans that when they got weekend passes, they would perform. One based out of New York, the other based out of Sacramento, California. I believe Mr. Mix out of Sacramento, California. Then he relocated and graduated high school in Riverside, California, in an empire, that is. And yes, I'm shouting it out because I'm quite familiar with the area. That being said, 2 Live Crew was a California-based act. Group members, military, Air Force veterans. Thank you for your service. But I point out their military training and their military service because one thing that was lacking in their act was stage presence, was a connection with the environment for whom they were performing. Be it that one of the members was from Trinidad by way of New York City, the other was from, as I understand it, Marquise from Memphis, Tennessee, and the DJ, Mr. Mix, was not from the southern region of the United States. He was also from Northern California, relocated as a child to Southern California, and eventually went into the military. All being located at March Air Force Base. They were not children of Miami. They were not children of the southern region of the United States. Well, Marquise was, but when you're dealing with the Liberty City Overtown demographic, when you have Caribbean Islanders, when you have foundational United States black classifieds, when you have Central and Southern Americans from Spanish-speaking countries, all in a seasoned bowl melting pot, what you have is a bunch of bongos and drums and cowbells, all type of different cultures fusion together in a impoverished environment. Now, this impoverished environment in the 1980s in Miami, Florida, looked nothing like Miami Vice that we grew up on. We're talking about the non-white, in particular, the black community. Now, I discuss this particular environment on P.A.R, People Activity Radio, and the episode was titled 1980 Miami Race Clash, Race Soldiers, Red Bays, Mariel Boatlift, and Racial Classification Confusion. And in that episode, we attempt to bring clarity to the overwhelming stress systematically placed upon foundation United States black classifieds, systematic anti-blackness mistreatment, disenfranchisement, anti-black law enforcement, job discrimination, gentrification, racial dislocation, environmental racism, and immigrants and refugees from third world countries being dumped into already marginalized foundational United States black classified communities. 1980 McDuffie riots is a case study of all these elements being mixed with an unhealthy boom of drugs, immigrant drug wars, and guns. The result was crime bills and legislation which targeted exclusively foundational United States black classifieds. We use interviews from Neely Fuller Jr. and Michelle Alexander to bring context. Now that episode kind of breaks down the environment from which what we call Luke records and or bass music, or as we say locally, booty music, came from poverty's paradise. You understand me? Mixed with the nightclub environment, the night scene, the hotel resort scene, drug trafficking from every which way but loose. These people subject to black classification, in particular, Luther Campbell, in his effort to survive with ambitious expectations, not only to survive, to thrive, manifested a plan, his words not mine, and I recommend his book, The Book of Luke, where he explains all of this. Manifested a plan of, well, we like rap. Hip hop is not going to allow non-5 borough of New York City talent to go within that platform. So we're going to have to find a lane for ourselves, and we don't have to recreate the wheel, because I am familiar with blue comedy. Now, this is his words, not mine. He, from his perspective, was making party comedy records, no different than the blue comedy records that came from the Chitlin circuit. Are you following me? Leroy and Skillet, Red Fox, Rudy Ray Moore. Are you following me? LaWanda Page, Moms Mabley. Are you following me? Pig Meat Markham. Are you following me? These individuals already had created a lane, blue comedy records. Luther Campbell took the blue comedy record cookie cutter model and put it into 808 heavily synthesized and bass music through some of them dancing girls that would always be ready to shake their behinds in the impoverished communities, put them up on stage, preferably gentlemen's clubs workers. And that was his brand. And it exploded. This comes from ambition, strategy, poverty, and a thrive to rise from up out of the mud. Now, the mud that I am talking about, please refer to the episode of People Activity Radio titled The 1980s Miami Race Class, Race Soldiers, Red Bays, Mariel Boatlift, Racial Classification, Racial Dislocation, Confusion. Now, there's a lot to the story of Luther Campbell that I would highly recommend you reading his book, and you can hear all of the tidbits, and you can get all up into the nooks and crannies of this story. But at the end of the day, Luther Campbell was an independent record label executive and owner, and he was one of the first individuals from the southern region of the United States to have a successful record company that produced exclusively rap records. I don't call him a hip-hop pioneer because hip-hop told him to his face that they did not accept him as part of the hip-hop family. But down here in the southern region of the United States called Florida, where old John G. was raised. Luther Campbell, of course, was part of my formative years. I wasn't supposed to be hearing that stuff that it was being made, but I heard it. And it was being played all around the state. And I conclude all around Chitlin cities, nooks and crannies, because he took the Chitlin circuit route, dominated it, and next thing you know, he's up on the charts with platinum records. And guess who had a problem with that? The hip-hop industry. He did not go through their platform. He did not go through their system. And they would pit their employees against him. They would pit their lawyers against him. Am I saying that the material that Luther Campbell made was constructive and healthy for developing minds? No, I'm not. What I'm saying is, whatever you do to survive and respond to your victim status under the global system of racism, white supremacy, VGQ, Victims Guaranteed Qualification. And if you have the talent, the will, the way, the ambition to survive, who am I as a fellow victim to critique you or call you names because you have the audacity not only to survive, to prosper in a toxic system that existed before you. There is nothing that Luther Campbell used. There is no marketing. There is no imagery. There is nothing that he created. He used what was already in the environment and created a brand. He created what we now know today as Southern Rap Legitimacy in the music industry, whether we like it or not. It's either true or it's not true. And I hope I have contributed to less confusion. And always remember, keep learning and stay codified.
JohnGHorse's Cash App is $JohnGHorse, capital G, capital H, O, R, S, E.
Notification message. This station has interrupted its regular program at the request of the emergency.
You know, what we're doing in the South would never manifest to anything.
We got our own shit down here. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't real hip-hop from the beginning of time.
The South got something to say, that's all I got to say.
The day of the Geechee is gone, boy. And you going with it.
Down here, Ponce de Leon is Ponce Leon. On site, took him off the planet. The ancestors won. Aboriginal, autochthonous, indigenous ones. Abracadabra, black classified, now you African, son. We descend from the renegades who mastered their guns, weaponized the sun, swamp dwellers, conjure hoodoo you done. Black riders don't run, they pay the price for liberation. The code is the leadership, it's best you get one.
The day of the Geechee is gone, boy. And you going with it.
We are chill, 9 to 5, and John Henryismizing, socializing, fraternizing with children of the beast surviving. Realizing we provide the fire to keep the others rising. Incentivizing anti-culture, then we act surprised when jitterbugs charge the elders with the crime of not providing sanctuary, cause it's scary when you classify this Black, get back. We descend from the ones who fight it. Survival is the code. Once you get it, then apply it.
The day that Geechee is gone, boy. And you going with it.
And you're the prey.